My mother refused to take care of my son. I am not your slave. Get a babysitter, she said, all while she was taking care of my sister's daughters. So when she asked me to pay her bills, I told her, I am not your bank. Find someone else to support you. My name is Nelson. I'm 34 years old, with an incredible wife named Dana and a 5-year-old son, Samuel, who is my world. I live in a mid-sized city with a stable job as a project manager at a tech company. I'm not a millionaire, but I work hard to give my family a good life. However, this story isn't about my happy life with Dana and Samuel, but about something that marked me deeply, my relationship with my mother, Carmen, and how everything changed in a single day. My mother, Carmen, was always a complicated woman. My father, a hard-working and quiet man, left her when I was 25. I don't blame him. Carmen was a toxic person, always criticizing, always demanding, always wanting to control everything. My father put up with what he could, but one day he simply left. He left a note saying he couldn't take it anymore and disappeared. I never saw him again, although sometimes I think about him and wonder if he's okay. When my father left, my mother was left alone, without a job, without savings, and with a lot of debt. She never had a stable job, she always depended on my father. And when he left, she became a professional victim, crying on the phone, saying the world was unfair, that everyone had abandoned her. I, at 25, just starting my career, felt I couldn't leave her alone. So, as the responsible son I always was, I decided to help her. I started paying her bills, the rent, electricity, water, groceries. I even gave her a monthly allowance so she would have some money for her personal expenses. It wasn't a small amount I spent on her, but I did it because, well, she was my mother. I thought it was the right thing to do. My sister Juliana, on the other hand, never lifted a finger for her. Juliana, 3 years younger than me, was always my mother's favorite. Since we were little, Carmen treated her like a queen. If Juliana wanted something, she got it. If she got into trouble, my mother would defend her no matter what. I, on the other hand, was always the serious one, the one who had to behave, the one who couldn't fail. Juliana grew up and, as expected, didn't make the best decisions. She went from party to party, living a life without direction. She ended up as a single mother to 2 girls, Paula and Sarah, each with a different father. I never judged them. The girls are lovely and it's not their fault. But Juliana, instead of maturing, remained the same, irresponsible, always looking for the easy way out. And my mother, instead of setting boundaries for her, adored her even more. To Carmen, Juliana was perfect, a victim of circumstances, while I was always the one who had to understand. Despite that, I continued paying my mother's bills for years. Years in which I never asked for anything in return, not a thank you, not any recognition, nothing. She saw it as my obligation, as if I owed her something for raising me. And even though her attitude hurt me, I accepted it. I thought that over time, she would value what I did for her. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday morning, a day I will never forget. I had an important work trip, a meeting in another city. It was a big opportunity for me, a project that could mean a promotion. But that day, everything got complicated. Dana, my wife, had an emergency at her job and couldn't stay with Samuel. The babysitter we usually hire wasn't available, and we had no one else to turn to. It was then that, for the first time in years, I thought of asking my mother for a favor. It wasn't a big deal. I just needed her to watch Samuel for 3 hours until Dana got back from work. Samuel is a quiet boy, he doesn't cause any trouble. I thought my mother, after everything I had done for her, would have no problem helping me. So I called her. "Hello, Mom, how are you?" I said, trying to sound friendly, although I always felt a knot in my stomach when I spoke to her. "Fine. What do you want?" she replied in that curt tone she always used with me. "Look, I have a work trip today, and Dana can't stay with Samuel." Could you watch him for about 3 hours? Just until she gets back. It's important. Silence. Then a sarcastic laugh. Watch your son, Nelson. I'm not here to watch children. I am not your slave or your servant. Get a babysitter. I was frozen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After 3 years of paying her bills, of sacrificing so she could have a roof over her head, food, electricity, this is what she said to me. I tried to stay calm. Mom, I'm not asking you to be my slave. It's just for 3 hours. I've helped you so much. Can't you do this one favor for me? Don't throw what you do for me in my face, she snapped. I raised you, or have you forgotten? That's what mothers do. Don't come to me now asking for favors as if I were your employee. I was about to respond, but then I heard something that made me stop. In the background, I could hear children's voices, shouts, laughter. Voices I recognized instantly. They were Paula and Sarah, Juliana's daughters. My mother was babysitting my sister's kids, but she was refusing to watch my son. I felt my blood boil. Are those Paula and Sarah? I asked, trying to control my voice. And what if they are? She replied defiantly. Juliana asked me to watch them. She's a single mother, she needs my help. And I don't. I said, no longer able to hold back. Mom, I've paid your bills for years, and now I ask for a 3-hour favor and you tell me no. But you'll watch Juliana's daughters. Juliana is different, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. She deserves my help. She's my favorite daughter. She always has been. You're the man, you can manage on your own. I couldn't believe it. My mother wasn't just rejecting me, she was telling me to my face that my sister was more important, that my effort was worthless. The argument went on for a while. I reminded her of everything I had done for her. She told me not to be ungrateful, that she had raised me, that it was my duty. At one point, Samuel, who was sitting on the couch, started looking at me with frightened eyes. That stopped me. I hung up the phone before I could say something I'd regret. I was furious, but also deeply hurt. So I took his hand, led him to the car, and left. There was no babysitter available, so I had no choice. I took Samuel with me on the work trip. It was a logistical nightmare, but I managed. However, something inside me broke that day. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions. I was furious, but also sad. For years, I had carried the responsibility of supporting my mother, despite her disdain, despite her always putting Juliana before me. But that conversation, that blatant rejection while she was babysitting my sister's daughters, was the straw that broke the camel's back. I decided I wasn't going to pay her bills anymore. If Juliana was her favorite daughter, then she could take care of it. I didn't speak to my mother for 2 weeks. Dana supported me completely. She had always seen how my mother treated me but never interfered because she knew it was a sensitive topic. You've done more than anyone would have, Nelson, she told me one night over dinner. It's time for you to think about us, about Samuel, about yourself. And she was right. The end of the month arrived, and as expected, my mother called. Her tone was the same as always, as if nothing had happened. Nelson, you know the month is coming up. I need the money for rent, utilities, groceries, and my allowance. Send me the deposit today, I'm almost out of what you gave me last month. I took a deep breath. I had been waiting for this moment. Mom, I'm not going to pay your bills anymore, I said, in the calmest voice I could manage. What? She shouted into the phone. What do you mean you're not going to pay? I'm your mother. It's your obligation. No, Mom, it's not my obligation, I replied. I've been supporting you for years, and when I asked you for one favor, a simple 3-hour favor, you told me you weren't my slave. Remember? You told me to get a babysitter. Meanwhile, you were taking care of Juliana's daughters. So, you know what? I'm not your bank. Find someone else to support you. She was silent for a second, and then she exploded. You're being so dramatic. After everything I've done for you. Juliana is a single mother. She needs my help. Don't overreact. Overreacting? I retorted. Overreacting is me supporting you for 3 years while you can't watch my son for 3 hours. Mom, if Juliana is so important, ask her to pay your bills. Let your favorite daughter take care of it. Juliana doesn't have any money, she screamed. She's a single mother, she has responsibilities. And I have responsibilities too, Mom, I said, fed up. I have a family, a son, a job. I am not your ATM. I am not paying your bills anymore. Period. I hung up the phone. My heart was pounding, but at the same time, I felt an enormous sense of relief. For the first time in years, I had put myself first. Dana, who had been listening from the kitchen, hugged me. You did the right thing, she said. And I felt that way too. I thought that call was the end of it, but I was wrong. The next day, someone pounded violently on our apartment door. Dana opened it, and before she could say a word, my mother stormed in, pushing her slightly. She was furious, with her eyes blazing. So you're not going to pay my bills, she yelled, pointing her finger at me. Ungrateful. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me. Dana tried to calm her down, but my mother ignored her. I stood up, trying to remain calm. Mom, I'm not doing this anymore, I said. I told you yesterday. I'm not your bank. If you want someone to support you, ask Juliana. She's your favorite. Don't you make me talk about things you don't understand, Juliana screamed. It's not her fault. You're the man. You have to help me. Then, something inside me snapped. All those years of being belittled, of being second best, of carrying her responsibilities, all came to the surface. Do you know why Dad left you, Mom? I said, looking her straight in the eye. Because you were toxic. Because you always demanded, always criticized, always put everyone before him. And now you're doing the same thing to me, but not anymore. I am not your bank, I am not your slave. Find someone else to support you, because I'm done. My mother's jaw dropped as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. She raised her hand as if to slap me, but I moved away in time. Get out, I told her, pointing to the door. I don't want to see you again. She continued to scream, saying she was a self-sacrificing mother, that I didn't understand anything, that I was a bad son, but I wasn't listening anymore. Dana escorted her to the door, and she finally left, but not before screaming that I would regret it. The weeks following the confrontation with my mother were like waking up from a long, exhausting dream. For the first time in years, I didn't feel that constant weight on my chest, that feeling of being trapped in an emotional debt I never asked for. I didn't speak to Carmen, my mother, again, and although at first a small part of me felt guilty, as if I were betraying some sacred code of being a son, that guilt faded with each passing day. In its place, something new grew, a sense of control over my life, of prioritizing my family, Dana and Samuel, and for the first time, myself. Dana noticed the change almost immediately. One night, as we were washing dishes after Samuel had fallen asleep, she looked at me with those eyes that always seemed to read my soul and said, "You're calmer, Nelson. I haven't seen you like this in a long time." I smiled, though I didn't know what to say. It was true. For years, I had carried an invisible burden, the responsibility of supporting my mother, enduring her criticism, accepting that I would always be second on her list behind Juliana. But now, by cutting that tie, I felt I could breathe deeper, that my shoulders were lighter. However, it wasn't all peaceful. The decision to stop paying my mother's bills didn't go unnoticed. Every time the phone rang, a part of me expected it to be her, ready to scream, demand, or manipulate me into giving in again. But she didn't call. Not at first. I suppose she thought I would cave, that my rebellion was temporary, that I would eventually go back to being the obedient son I had always been. She was wrong. One day, about 3 weeks after our last argument, I got a call from Juliana. It was a Saturday morning, and I was at the park with Samuel, watching him chase a ball with a smile that lit up everything around him. The phone vibrated in my pocket, and when I saw my sister's name on the screen, I hesitated to answer. Juliana and I were never close. We weren't enemies, but her way of life, always looking for shortcuts, always depending on others, made me keep my distance. Still, I answered. "Nelson, we need to talk," she said without any preamble. Her voice sounded tired, as if she had been crying or arguing for hours. "What's wrong?" I asked, though I already had a good idea what it was about. "It's Mom. She got evicted from her apartment. She didn't pay the rent, and now she's living with me. But I can't handle this, Nelson. It's too much. I have Paula and Sarah, and I can barely afford things for us. I don't know what to do." I was silent. I felt a pang of something. I don't know if it was pity for Juliana or anger at the situation, but I didn't let it overwhelm me. Instead, I replied with a calmness I didn't know I had. "Juliana, you are her favorite daughter," I said, emphasizing every word. "You always have been. Mom made it clear that you and your daughters are her priority. I supported her for years. I paid her rent, her food, her utilities, even her allowance so she could buy clothes or whatever she wanted. And you know what I got in return? Nothing. Not a thank you, not a gesture of appreciation, only contempt. So if Mom is so important to you, you support her. It's not my problem. Nelson, please," she insisted, her voice breaking slightly. "It's not that easy. Mom is desperate. She has nowhere to go. I can't support her forever." "Not my problem," I said, and hung up the phone before she could reply. My heart was racing, but it wasn't just anger, it was a mix of relief and satisfaction. For the first time, I felt I was defending my worth, my effort, my family. A month later, I found out that Juliana had kicked my mother out of her house. Apparently, Carmen hadn't changed at all. She was still the same, demanding, critical, impossible to please. Juliana, despite her own problems, tried to help Mom, but soon things got out of control. Carmen complained about everything. The food wasn't good enough. Juliana's apartment was a mess. The girls made too much noise. She even started demanding that Juliana give her money for personal expenses, as if Juliana had money to spare. I don't know how to describe what I felt when I heard that. It wasn't joy, definitely not, but it wasn't pity either. It was as if a part of me, the part that still hoped my mother would change, that one day she would acknowledge everything I did for her, finally gave up. Carmen had chosen Juliana time and time again, even when Juliana could offer her nothing. She had belittled me, treated me as if my efforts were worthless, and now she was facing the consequences of her choices. My mother tried to contact me a few weeks after Juliana kicked her out. I received a call from an unknown number, and when I answered, I heard her voice. It wasn't the strong, demanding voice from before. It was pleading, almost broken. "Nelson, please," she said, "I need your help. Juliana kicked me out of her house. She says I'm a burden, that she can't handle me. I have nowhere to go. I'm in a shelter, but this is no life for me. You're my son, you can't leave me like this." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. A very small part of me wanted to give in, but then I remembered everything, the years of paying her bills, the contempt in her voice when she told me she wasn't my slave, the way she took care of Juliana's daughters while refusing to help me with Samuel. I remembered her blatant favoritism, her constant criticism, the way she always made me feel like I wasn't enough, and I knew I couldn't go back. I laughed and told her, "There's your favorite daughter for you. You did favors for her for free, and look how she repaid you." Meanwhile, I paid your bills for years, and you threw a fit over one simple favor. You're on your own. She started crying, but I hung up before she could say anything else. My hand was shaking, but not from regret. It was as if, with that call, I had finally closed a door that had been ajar for years. Dana, who was listening from the couch, came over and hugged me without saying a word. She didn't need to. She knew what that moment meant. Sometimes, when I'm with Samuel at the park or making dinner with Dana, I think about my mother. Not with anger, not anymore. More with a kind of distant sadness, as if I'm remembering someone I knew a long time ago. I wonder if she'll ever understand what she lost, not just me, but Samuel, Dana, the chance to have a family that truly loved her. But then I look at my son laughing as he runs, or at my wife, who has always been by my side, and I know I made the right decision. I am not anyone's bank. I am not anyone's slave. I am Nelson, a man who learned to set boundaries, to value himself, and to protect those who truly matter. And for the first time in a long time, I feel free. Subscribe for more daily stories.